Back in 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn released to critical success, financial success, commercial success. Overall, the game, a lot of people can generally agree, was a great game. I've heard since a couple complaints of people saying that the game isn't all that great, that it's an open world for no reason, Aloy's not a great character, etc., etc. Now, I didn't play Horizon Zero Dawn back in 2017. I've never touched a Horizon franchise. When I thought of Guerrilla Studios, I grew up in the PlayStation 3 era, so Killzone was one of my favorite games, specifically Killzone 2. And when think Guerrilla Studios, that's what I always thought of. And it's been a long time since, Guerrilla's ever made a Killzone game. And since then, they've been making Horizon, Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, and the subsequent DLCs. And with the long future that Horizon is going to have with PlayStation and with Guerrilla Studios, I decided why not. In 2023, I went ahead and I played Horizon Zero Dawn just to see how good this game is, if it holds up to, I think, the negativity and the positivity that I hear about this game. And if this game, I guess, is Guerrilla's best efforts away from Killzone, right? Because for me, I always think I would really love another Killzone game. Now in 2023, having played Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time and completing it, the first thing I want to say is I'm glad Guerrilla moved away from Killzone. I think Killzone was an amazing franchise, but I think Guerrilla really didn't get a chance to stretch their legs until Horizon Zero Dawn. Overall, this is going to be a review of Horizon Zero Dawn in the year 2023 as we close out the year going into the next year. Do me a favor and like this video. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing, as that does help us out tons. Without wasting any more time, let's get into this review of my first time playing Horizon Zero Dawn in 2023. The first thing I want to touch on for Horizon Zero Dawn is the name Horizon. Horizon as a franchise puts one thing in my brain, and that is a vast world full of different, ecosystems and climates and different viewpoints. And one of the things that Guerrilla really does well is create this world in Horizon that feels very unique. It feels very large and grandeur. It has tons of different ecosystems and different climates and environments and biomes. It finds a way to kind of always make me feel impressed by the areas that I'm wandering. This is an open world with beautiful landscapes, beautiful surroundings. But I think one of the biggest complaints Horizon gets is that it's an open world for open world's sake. I think a lot of people will make the argument that Horizon Zero Dawn isn't the best idea of what an open world game is. And when you compare it in 2017 to the fact that it released next to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which completely changed open worlds as we knew it then, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn probably felt pretty primitive as far as an open world. Yes, you have this large landscape that you can kind of traverse and roam around, but you can't really roam around it as free as I think people would have wanted to. A lot of the missions are very, go here and then go to the next checkpoint and then go to the next checkpoint. It doesn't necessarily calls to the player to explore. With that being said, I do think they do an amazing job with creating a beautiful world that when you do go off the beaten path, you are rewarded heavily. I think when it comes to open worlds, and you can call me old, you can call me primitive or whatever, I kind of like this approach. I like that it tells you where you should go if you want to continue the main story. But there's nothing stopping you really from just going around and traveling as far as you want to go. Search any nook and cranny you want to. Climb any mountain as long as you can find a path and get there. Sure, you can't, scale the mountain like in Breath of the Wild or other games, but I don't think you really need to. I don't think this game is that game. Yes, this is an open world game, and yes, don't think it necessarily needed to be an open world game. But I like that every time I went off the beaten path, I was rewarded, or at least I felt I was rewarded. I would find, materials or items or side quests that I found interesting. I was treated to beautiful landscapes that just made me awed by this game. Overall, yes, as an open world game, Horizon I don't think is, the most innovative open world, but the open world that it does do is very very well done. It is very very well done and it holds up today. I think when you think of like the most pretty games on the PlayStation 4, Horizon definitely has to be in the conversation. It's one of the most beautiful games probably ever. It definitely lets Guerrilla flex their muscles on not just their graphics, but their creativity and their art style. I think when you think post apocalyptic, the last thing you'll think of is a beautiful nature with tons of colors and greenery and blue skies with different ecosystems. I think when you think of post apocalyptic, you normally think of something more akin to like The Last of Us. Usually something more super sci-fi, heavy sci-fi. And sure, yeah, Horizon is very sci-fi. We're not arguing that. There's robot dinosaurs that kind of roam the world, but alongside that is imbued something adventurous, something like kind of primitive and primal. And I think I really like that whole tribe system that they have, where yeah, these are people with bows and arrows and spears. And sure, they're taking down robo dinos, which on paper sounds insane, but in practice, I think it really, really works well. I think the world that they create is something unique to this franchise. And I think, obviously, you know, it's not the most awe-inspiring, I think, for some people. I think when people want post-apocalyptic, they want, real post-apocalyptic. When they want, you know, sci-fi, they want sci-fi. And I think this kind of borders on fantasy more than the science aspect. And the science does kind of hold it down. I think a lot of people get kind of bogged down by the dialogues and the pseudoscience, where it does kind of drown out some of the narrative because of how deep it goes. But I think when you do kind of like focus in on the story and the world that they're creating, they did a good job. They have it full of amazing characters. I love this cast of characters from Ross um, to Aloy to everybody. I think just does an amazing job of being uniquely themselves. I don't think any of them are too tropey. And yeah, sure, some of them might have the little like Marvel humor that I think a lot of people are tired of. But this was back in 2017, so I don't think it was that old then. Um, I love Aloy as a character. I think she does an amazing job of not just being like tough and independent, right? Because I think we like to see that, but just also just being uniquely herself. I don't think she kind of falls in the footsteps of any other PlayStation, main character that I could think of. I think as a protagonist, she's someone you can get behind. She's someone that if I knew Aloy in real life, I would follow her into battle. I would trust her as a leader. She's someone that's more than just capable. She's someone that is witty and intelligent and is flawed. She holds her temper tantrums. She speaks out of, she speaks on things that she doesn't know anything about, and sometimes she speaks with disrespect. With all that being said, she has the best intentions at heart, and she's trying. So I think overall, as a character, Aloy is amazing, and just the characters in this game, I think, really, really stand out. As a diverse group of characters, not just diverse in their color, the way they walk or dress, etc., but diverse in their purpose in this world, diverse in the fact that I think they have general reasons for being in this world. And I think overall, I think those are probably the biggest standouts from playing Horizon. Aside from, I think, the open worldness of it all, the colors and the environments, just the story, the narrative, and the characters, I think really, really helped this, world pop. I think they add a different vibrancy to an open world game that I wouldn't really expect. You think of a game this large, you normally fill it with just a bunch of empty NPCs that don't really do much. And I think Horizon, sure, it does have those moments where some of the NPCs are just, side quests, go fetch this, go get this. But a lot of them really do stand out as characters that I'm going to remember for a long time. When I think of Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm going to remember a lot of these characters and a lot of these moments that I went through with them. And I think Guerrilla Studios, again, just did an amazing job with nailing down their roster of characters. Aside from just the world building and the lore building, Horizon Zero Dawn surprisingly holds up a pretty fun combat system. I think the idea of like picking up like items and kind of crafting on the fly was really really cool. It was really really different for me. Just how fast it was to like craft arrows and shoot them all out, and the different like gadgets that you kind of get. That I definitely utilized majority of them, right? Like the trap shooter, where like you just kind of like set up a line of trap that kind of disable the enemy for a little bit, from like throwing the little like fire arrows or the long distance arrows. You know, a lot of the weapons I think served a purpose, and they were fun to kind of play around with the whole weapon wheel. There was like never really a fight that I didn't use like the entire full weapon wheel, and I think that's something that is definitely hard to say with I think a game like this. I think because they have such different and unique weapons that you typically try to find the one that works really really well for you. And I feel like for me, I kind of just gravitated towards a lot of different ones every single time. You know, I would use, you know, as much medicinal herbs as I can. I would go and I use like setting up traps, luring enemies just so I could kill them faster, trying to like hit the critical hits, stuff like that. That I feel like once you get it down, once you start to like really get into Duffy of what this combat system has to offer, I just had an amazing time combating enemies. Some of the boss fights I think were challenging. They were grand in scope, and it just made me think a little bit. You know, it wasn't as simple as just hack and slashing my way through a fight. I had to really navigate around them, learn their weak spots. I had to figure out what weapons worked best for them, whether I should be up close and hit him with the spear, or whether I should go far away and hit him with the long range arrows. Stuff like that that I felt like made this game, again, just that much better. I think this game narratively and with the open world was probably enough to say it was a good game, but I think with a fun inventive combat system, they definitely, I think, drive it home that this is a little bit more than just a good game. I would definitely say this is a great game. Overall, like, I have a lot of good things to say about Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm surprised how well it holds up 6 years from release, right? If we were to talk about the things that I don't like about Horizon Zero Dawn, some of the lore does get very deep into Duffy, and it is hard to keep track of sometimes. Not necessarily because it's the most complicated story, but just because it is overly heavily dialogued. I think sometimes they could have got further with a lot less words said. I think getting to the, you know, cutting it to the chase a little bit quicker would have definitely helped with holding my attention longer. As well as I think creating a more significant bad guy. I think the bad guy wasn't really something to write home about. He's not someone that I could look back and say he had like a personal connection to Aloy, and I think that's probably for me one of the things that I felt disconnected was that it kind of felt more like Aloy versus the world versus, you know, a specific character out to get anybody really. And yeah, they had their villain and they had their, you know, moments of opposition, but they didn't really have that person that I could like pinpoint as like Aloy's nemesis. You know, the Bowser to her Mario, the Ganondorf to her Link, etc. Didn't have that person that's so significant that it made me not necessarily root for Aloy more. It kind of just felt like because there was an entity, an obstacle against Aloy, there was no way Aloy was gonna lose. Like, it just never felt like she was gonna lose against a nothing, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm, you know, underselling the villain a lot, but it's just because, again, they had little significance to me in the story overall. When I think back about a lot of the story beats, I think more of the cool stuff that happened opposed to the actual like scenarios, like opposed to the actual situations, I guess. Overall, Horizon Zero Dawn in 2023 I think is a really good game. I think the combat system is fun. I think aside from some like technical glitches that definitely ruined the immersion of the game is very bulletproof. It is like graphically impressive still. Some of the landscapes are amazing to look at. And overall, I just had a blast playing this game. these are my thoughts in this game. If you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, or if you're wondering if you want to go back to it, if it still holds up today, I'll definitely say this is a game that is easy to go back to. It definitely holds up, and I think it definitely shows the strength of Guerrilla Studios. I'm gonna end the review here. Let me know down below what you guys think, if you guys agree, disagree, etc. With all that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next video.